Billionaire invites Maid to dance. But what she does next is shocking. Michael Anderson watched his mother Margaret blow out the candles on her 80th birthday, surrounded by dozens of distinguished guests at his mansion in Beverly Hills. The party was going perfectly, until he noticed one of the maids quietly cleaning crystal glasses near the main hall. Something about that young woman with her hair tied back and impeccable uniform made him stop talking to the businessmen. Without any logical explanation, Michael walked over to her and extended his hand. "Would you dance with me?" he asked, interrupting her work. The maid lifted her surprised brown eyes. The yellow cleaning gloves still covered her hands as she looked around, realizing all conversations had stopped. The guests watched them with expressions of shock and disapproval. "Mr. Michael, I'm working," she murmured softly but firmly. "Just one song," he insisted, keeping his hand outstretched. Emily Wilson hesitated for what felt like an eternity. She had known this man for only 3 months, since she started working at the Anderson mansion. She knew he was a widower, that he ran one of the largest business empires in the country, and that he rarely spoke to the staff. But there was something in his eyes at that moment that made her accept. She removed the yellow gloves and placed them on the tray she carried. She took his hand under the scandalized gazes of New York City's high society. The orchestra, after a moment of confusion, resumed the waltz they had been playing. Michael led Emily to the center of the hall, where the crystal chandeliers cast golden reflections on the marble floor. She danced naturally, following his steps with a grace that surprised everyone. "You dance beautifully," Michael remarked as they swayed slowly. "My grandmother taught me when I was little," Emily replied, keeping her eyes fixed on his. Mrs. Johnson watched the scene from the main table, her face twisted in anger. She gripped her champagne glass so tightly her fingers turned white. Beside her, the other elite ladies whispered sharp comments about her son's lack of decorum. As the song neared its end, Emily leaned in slightly and whispered something in Michael's ear. The words she spoke made his blood run cold. "I recognize this song. It was your wife, Jennifer's favorite." Michael nearly stumbled. His eyes widened as he stared at Emily's serene face. Jennifer had left 5 years ago, leaving only a note saying she needed to rebuild her life elsewhere. How could this maid know about his wife's favorite song? "How do you—" he began, but Emily continued whispering. "She didn't leave the country, Mr. Michael. Jennifer is at a clinic in Westchester, and she needs your help." The music ended, and the guests' polite applause echoed through the hall. Michael let go of Emily's hands as if they burned him, and his face had lost all color. Mrs. Johnson quickly approached, her navy blue dress swishing behind her. "Michael, what was that nonsense?" she said quietly but firmly. "The guests are scandalized. Mom, and you—" Mrs. Johnson turned to Emily, her eyes flashing with fury. "Go back to the kitchen immediately. We'll discuss your future in this house tomorrow." Emily gave a respectful nod, picked up her gloves, and walked away without another word. But before leaving the hall, she exchanged one last look with Michael, a look that clearly said, "We need to talk." The rest of the party passed in a blur for Michael. He greeted guests, cut the cake, gave the obligatory toasts, but his mind was entirely focused on Emily's words. Jennifer alive in a clinic? Why had she never reached out? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now continuing, when the last guest had left around 2 in the morning, Michael couldn't sleep. He wandered the halls of the mansion, passing by the photos of Jennifer that still adorned the walls. They had married 8 years ago, when she was a young social worker involved in community projects. The love had been instant, but adjusting to life as a billionaire's wife had been hard for her. Jennifer always felt out of place at elite parties. She preferred dedicating her time to social projects, distributing food baskets, and organizing vocational courses for underprivileged communities. This deeply irritated Mrs. Johnson, who believed her daughter-in-law should focus on activities befitting her social standing. The fights between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law became constant. Margaret openly criticized Jennifer's poor habits, while Jennifer questioned the family's excessive spending on frivolities when so many were in need. Michael always tried to mediate the conflicts, but felt torn between loyalty to his mother and love for his wife. The next morning, Michael waited for Emily in the mansion's kitchen. She arrived promptly at 6, as always, and began preparing the family's breakfast. Her movements were precise and efficient, showing her experience in domestic work. "We need to talk," Michael said as soon as they were alone. Emily glanced around, making sure no one else was present. "I know you must be confused, Mr. Anderson, but everything I said yesterday is true. How did you know Jennifer? And how do you know about the song?" Emily dried her hands on her apron and turned to face him fully. "My real name is Emily Wilson Bennett. I'm a trained nurse, not a housekeeper. I worked for 2 years at Serenity Wellness Center in Westchester, caring for your wife." Michael leaned against the kitchen counter, his legs weakening. "Jennifer was in a psychiatric clinic. Not exactly psychiatric. It's a facility for people with neurological and memory issues. But Mr. Anderson," Emily hesitated before continuing, "your wife had no mental illness when she arrived there." "What do you mean?" "She was admitted against her will, with documents claiming emotional instability and self-destructive tendencies. But I knew her well for 2 years. Jennifer is a lucid, intelligent woman who just wanted to come home." Michael ran his hands through his hair, trying to process the information. "That's impossible. She left a note saying she was starting a new life, that she wasn't happy here, that she needed freedom." Emily opened her purse and pulled out a crumpled paper. "This is the note Jennifer gave me at the clinic. She asked me to find a way to reach you." Michael took the paper with trembling hands. The handwriting was unmistakably Jennifer's. "If anyone is reading this, please help me. I didn't leave my home willingly. I was brought here one night in March 2019 after an argument with my mother-in-law about the company's finances. I discovered irregularities in the accounting books, and when I questioned it, I woke up here the next day. They told my husband I ran away, but that's a lie. I just want to go home to return to Michael. Please don't let them forget me here." Michael's hands shook as he read. The date matched exactly the day Jennifer had run away. He remembered the argument between her and his mother in the office that night. When he woke the next morning, he'd found only the goodbye note on the bed. "Why were you fired from the clinic?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Because I started questioning the treatments Jennifer was receiving. She was being over-medicated with drugs that caused mental confusion and memory loss. When I asked about the need for these medications, the clinic director said they were direct orders from the family." "What family? I never authorized any treatment." "According to the documents, the authorizations came from Mrs. Margaret Anderson as temporary legal guardian, since you were emotionally distressed by your wife's disappearance." At that moment, Mrs. Margaret entered the kitchen, still wearing her silk robe. "Michael, what are you doing here talking to the maid?" "Mom, we need to talk. Now." "About what?" "About Jennifer." Margaret's face hardened immediately. "Your wife abandoned us, Michael. How many times are we going to talk about this?" "She didn't abandon us, Mom. She was taken to a clinic against her will." Margaret glared at Emily with pure hatred. "This woman is filling your head with lies. I'll fire her right now." "No, Mom. You're going to explain why you signed papers committing my wife." Margaret turned pale but quickly composed herself. "I don't know what you're talking about." Emily pulled a folder of photocopied documents from her bag. "These are the commitment papers, Mr. Michael, all signed by your mother. And here are the records of the clinic's monthly payments, debited directly from her personal account." Michael took the documents and examined them. His mother's signature was on every page. The medical reports described Jennifer as a patient with psychotic episodes requiring prolonged pharmacological restraint. "Mom," Michael's voice was heavy with pain and disbelief. "I protected this family," Margaret exploded. "That woman was prying into things that weren't her business. She found out about the offshore account transfers and threatened to expose everything. She was going to destroy the empire your father built." "What transfers?" "The ones that keep the company running without paying the proper taxes. Your father always did this, Michael. It's how we stay on top. Michael felt the world spinning around him. His mother had committed his wife to protect tax evasion schemes, and he had believed the story that Jennifer had abandoned him. "Where are the car keys?" he asked, turning to Emily. "Mr. Michael, we're going to get my wife, now." Margaret grabbed her son's arm. "Michael, you don't understand. If Jennifer comes back and talks about what she found out, we'll all go to prison. The company will go bankrupt, we'll lose everything." "Then let's lose it, Mom. I won't let my wife rot in a clinic over dirty money." Michael walked out of the kitchen with Emily behind him. Margaret stood frozen, watching them leave, tears of anger streaming down her face. The drive to Westchester took an hour in New York City's morning traffic. Along the way, Emily shared more details about Jennifer's condition. "She has good days and bad days. The medications affected her short-term memory, but she remembers life before the commitment clearly. She talks about you constantly, Mr. Michael. Asks every day when you're coming to visit." "Why did she never try to contact me directly?" "Because the clinic staff told her you authorized the commitment, that you didn't want to see her anymore. Jennifer believed it for a long time until I started working there and realized something was wrong." "How did you know she was my wife?" "She always carried a photo of you in her wallet, a picture of you two on your wedding day. When I was fired from the clinic, I decided to investigate. I learned about the Anderson family, the company, the mansion. Then I applied to work as a maid in your home. You took a big risk doing that. Jennifer became my friend. She helped me when I was going through personal problems at the clinic. I couldn't leave her abandoned there. The Serenity Wellness Center was located in a rural area of Westchester, surrounded by high walls and electronic gates. Michael had never been there before. The place looked more like a prison than a medical treatment center. At the reception, a middle-aged secretary greeted them with professional courtesy. "How may I help you?" "I'd like to see my wife, Jennifer Anderson," said Michael, presenting his documents. The secretary checked the computer, then looked at them with a concerned expression. "Mr. Anderson, according to our records, you are not authorized for visits. Only Mrs. Margaret Anderson is permitted to see the patient." "I'm her husband." "Yes, sir, but the documents indicate you are undergoing psychological treatment due to the trauma of marital abandonment. Your mother is the patient's temporary legal guardian." Michael felt anger rising in his chest. "I want to speak to the director of this clinic immediately." After half an hour of waiting, Dr. Thompson, the medical director of the clinic, received them in his office. He was a man in his 50s with a tired appearance and a defensive demeanor. "Mr. Anderson, I understand your distress, but we strictly follow the protocols established by the family." "What protocols?" "I never authorized my wife's admission. According to the documentation, your mother obtained legal power of attorney due to your unstable emotional state following the marital abandonment." "That's false. I never signed any power of attorney." Dr. Thompson opened a drawer and pulled out a document. "This is the power of attorney duly notarized." Michael examined the paper. His signature was there, but he was absolutely certain he had never signed it. The handwriting was slightly different from his natural script. "This signature is forged. Mr. Anderson, I understand this is a difficult time, but I cannot allow baseless accusations." Emily leaned forward. "Doctor, can you explain why Jennifer is being medicated with such high doses of sedatives if she doesn't exhibit aggressive behavior?" "And you are?" "Emily Wilson Bennett, registered nurse. I worked here until 3 months ago." Dr. Thompson seemed uncomfortable. "Ah, yes, Emily. The nurse who was dismissed for insubordination." "Insubordination? Or for questioning unnecessary treatments?" "Patient Jennifer's treatment is determined by the medical team and approved by the family." Michael slammed his fist on the table. "I want to see my wife now. Mr. Anderson, I'll need to contact Mrs. Margaret before authorizing any visit. Then call her, but I'm not leaving here without seeing Jennifer." Dr. Thompson picked up the phone and dialed. Michael could hear his mother's loud voice on the other end. After 5 tense minutes of conversation, the doctor hung up. "Mrs. Margaret authorizes a 15-minute visit, supervised by a nurse." "Supervised? She's my wife, not a prisoner." "Those are the clinic's rules, Mr. Anderson." Jennifer's room was on the 3rd floor. in a wing reserved for long-term patients. The walls were white and cold, with only a small window overlooking an inner courtyard. Jennifer was sitting in an armchair beside the bed, staring blankly. When Michael entered the room, she slowly looked up. For a moment, there was no recognition. Then her eyes filled with tears. "Michael." Her voice was weak, almost a whisper. "Jennifer. My love." He knelt beside the armchair and took her hands. Jennifer was thin, pale, with deep dark circles under her eyes. Her hair, once always shiny, was dull and lifeless. "You came to take me home?" she asked, with childlike hope in her voice. "Yes, my love. I came to take you home. But they said you didn't want to see me anymore, that I was crazy, and that you were ashamed of me." "Never, Jennifer. I never thought that. I love you." She looked over his shoulder and saw Emily standing in the doorway. "Emily, you came back." Jennifer smiled for the first time. "Emily was the only one who believed me here. She always said you'd find me." The nurse supervising them cleared his throat. 15 minutes, Mr. Anderson." Michael ignored the warning and kept talking to Jennifer. She told him about the endless days at the wellness center, the medications that left her confused, the nightmares where she screamed his name and no one heard her. "Jennifer, do you remember our song, the one we played at our wedding?" "Chopin's Love Waltz," she answered immediately with a faint smile. "We danced to it every Friday in the living room." "That's right. And do you remember what you discovered at the company before you came here?" Jennifer's face twisted, as if struck by physical pain. "The accounts, the hidden accounts. Your mother was embezzling tax money. So much money, Michael. Millions. When I said we had to report it to the authorities, she was furious." "Time's up," the nurse announced. "No, please," Jennifer begged. "Don't leave me here again, please, Michael." Michael's heart broke at the desperation in his wife's voice. "I'll come back tomorrow, I promise. And I'll find a way to get you out of here." "You promise?" "I promise." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. On the way back to New York City, Michael was completely silent. Emily respected his need to reflect until he finally spoke. "My mother destroyed the life of the woman I love to protect dirty money." "What will you do, sir?" "I'll get Jennifer out of there, no matter the cost, but first, I need to understand the full extent of what my mother did." When they arrived at the mansion, Michael went straight to his father's office on the second floor. The room was exactly as Richard Anderson had left it when he passed away 6 years earlier. Michael opened the safe using the combination he knew by heart and began examining the documents. What he found shocked him deeply. There were records of bank accounts in tax havens, paperwork for shell companies, proof of bribes to public officials. The Anderson empire had been built on a mountain of corruption, but there was more. At the back of the safe, he found a sealed envelope with his name written in his father's handwriting. Inside was a will different from the one read after Richard's death. In this secret will, his father left clear instructions. Half the family fortune was to be donated to charities chosen by Jennifer, whom he called the only person in the family with a true social conscience. There was also a detailed confession about the tax crimes and an explicit order for Michael to settle everything with the authorities. The will was dated just 1 month before Richard's death. Apparently, he had developed cancer and decided to clear his conscience before passing. Michael understood everything. His mother had hidden the real will and forged a fake one to maintain total control of the company. When Jennifer uncovered the irregularities, Margaret realized her daughter-in-law was a threat to the scheme. That night, Michael confronted his mother at dinner. He placed all the documents on the dining table and waited for her reaction. "Mom, I found Dad's real will." Margaret stopped eating and froze. "I don't know what you're talking about." "And I also found all the evidence of the tax crimes. Dad wanted me to settle everything and donate half the fortune to charity." "Your father was senile when he wrote that nonsense. The valid will is the one that was read at the notary's office." "The will you forged?" Margaret stood abruptly from her chair. "Michael, You don't understand the responsibilities we have. We employ thousands of people. If we hand over that information, the company will go bankrupt, and all those workers will lose their jobs. And Jennifer, did she deserve to rot in a clinic to protect their jobs? Jennifer was naive. She didn't understand how the world works. She wanted to hand everything over to the tax auditors on a silver platter, to destroy decades of work over foolish scruples. Scruples? Mother, that's called honesty. Honesty doesn't pay salaries, Michael. Honesty doesn't maintain this family's standard of living. Michael picked up the phone. What are you doing? Calling Dr. Thompson. I'm authorizing Jennifer's transfer to another hospital today. Margaret tried to grab the phone from his hand. Michael, if you bring Jennifer back, she'll talk. The authorities will investigate. We'll all go to prison. Then let us go to prison, Mother. We deserve it. The conversation with Dr. Thompson was tense. The doctor claimed that transferring Jennifer without proper medical supervision would be dangerous for her. Michael suspected the doctor was being bribed by his mother, but couldn't prove it. Doctor, I'm her husband, and I'm demanding the transfer. Mr. Anderson, legally your mother has authority over the patient. I can only suggest you resolve this as a family. Then we'll resolve it in court. Michael hung up and immediately called the best family lawyer he knew. Dr. William Parker was a principled man who had been his father's friend. Michael, what a surprise to hear your voice. How can I help you? Dr. Parker, I need to revoke a forged power of attorney issued in my name and gain custody of my wife, who's being held against her will. This is very serious, Michael. Are you certain about what you're telling me? Absolutely, and I have all the evidence. Then come to my office first thing tomorrow. We'll handle this. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He paced through the mansion, thinking of all the times he'd missed Jennifer over the last 5 years. Every night he'd cried over her absence. Every morning he'd woken up hoping to find her beside him in bed. And she had been just 50 miles away, alone and medicated, believing he had abandoned her. The next morning, before leaving to meet the lawyer, Michael went to Emily's room in the staff quarters. Emily, I need to apologize to you. For what, Mr. Anderson? For everything you've been through, for risking your career to help my wife, for enduring working here knowing the truth. I did what any decent person would do. No, you did far more than that. And when Jennifer comes home, I want you to be her private nurse, with a nurse's salary, not a maid's. Mr. Anderson. And I want you to help me care for her. I don't know what damage those medications may have caused. Jennifer is strong. With love and proper care, she'll recover completely. Dr. Parker's office was on 5th Avenue, in a penthouse overlooking the entire city. The lawyer examined all the documents Michael had brought, including the secret will and evidence of the tax crimes. Michael, this is a bombshell. If these documents go public, the fallout will be enormous. I know, but I can't live with this guilt anymore, and I won't leave Jennifer trapped because of it. Here's what we'll do. First, we'll get an injunction to revoke the power of attorney and transfer Jennifer. Then, you'll decide how to handle the tax crimes. I want to hand everything over to the Internal Revenue Service, pay the overdue taxes with interest and penalties, and get the company's situation in order. This is going to cost a fortune, Michael. My father left clear instructions in his will. He wanted me to do this. Dr. Williams spent the rest of the morning preparing the legal documents. In the afternoon, they went together to the Serenity Wellness Center, accompanied by a court officer. Dr. Thompson received the court order with obvious displeasure. This is highly irregular. The patient is in a delicate state. Doctor, said Dr. William firmly, the court order is clear. You have 2 hours to prepare the patient for transfer. Where are you taking her? To Mount Sinai Hospital, where she'll be evaluated by an independent medical team, replied Michael. While waiting for the preparations, Michael called Emily. Meet us at Mount Sinai in 2 hours. Jennifer will need a familiar face when she gets there. Is she okay? She's going home, Emily. She's finally going home. Jennifer's transfer was tense. She was confused, still under the effects of medication, and didn't fully understand what was happening. Michael held her hand the entire ambulance ride. Where are we going? She asked weakly. To a hospital in New York City. where they'll take good care of you. And then? Then we're going home. Our home. At Mount Sinai Hospital, Dr. Robert Mitchell, a renowned neurologist, examined Jennifer for 3 hours. Afterward, he spoke privately with Michael. "Mr. Anderson, your wife was medicated completely inappropriately. She received extremely high doses of sedatives and antipsychotics that aren't indicated for her condition." "What condition? Does she have a mental illness?" "None. Jennifer is perfectly mentally sound. The only issues she has are from the excessive medication, temporary confusion, recent memory loss, and muscle weakness." "Is this reversible?" "Completely. With proper treatment and especially emotional support, she'll fully recover in a few months." Michael felt enormous relief. "Doctor, how long will she need to stay hospitalized?" "About 5 days for detox and stabilization. After that, she can continue treatment at home with outpatient care." That night, Michael slept in a chair beside Jennifer's hospital bed. She woke several times during the night, confused, asking where she was. He held her hand and whispered words of comfort until she fell back asleep. In the morning, Emily arrived at the hospital with clean clothes and some of Jennifer's personal belongings she'd managed to retrieve from the clinic. "How was her night?" Emily asked. "Restless, but better than I expected. The doctors say her recovery will be faster than we thought. Jennifer woke around 10 o'clock. She was more lucid than the day before." "Michael, was I dreaming?" "No, my love. You're safe now." "Emily," Jennifer smiled when she saw the nurse. "You did it. You brought him to me." "Actually, he found me. Mr. Anderson is smarter than I thought." During the 5 days of hospitalization, Michael never left Jennifer's side. He brought music she liked, photos of their home, flowers from the garden. Each day she grew more alert and more like the woman he'd fallen in love with. Meanwhile, the situation at the Anderson mansion deteriorated. Margaret had found out about the court order and was furious. She fired half the staff in a fit of rage and locked herself in her room, refusing to speak to anyone. Dr. William updated Michael daily on the legal developments. "The forged power of attorney has been officially nullified. Your mother no longer has any legal authority over Jennifer. And the tax fraud issue? I'm negotiating with the Internal Revenue Service. They are willing to accept a settlement agreement as long as you pay the full amount owed." "How much?" $87 million, including taxes, fines, and interest. Michael swallowed hard. It was an astronomical sum, but still feasible considering the family's assets. "Make the deal." "Michael, this will consume a large part of the company's assets. You'll have to sell properties, stocks, artwork. I don't care. My father wanted me to do this." "And your mother? She'll be left with almost nothing. She'll have a decent pension to live comfortably. But she won't be involved in any company decisions anymore." On the 5th day, Jennifer was discharged from the hospital. Michael took her straight home, but not to the Beverly Hills mansion. He had rented a smaller house in the Upper East Side, far from Margaret and the bad memories. "Why aren't we going to our house?" Jennifer asked when the car stopped in front of the old townhouse. "Because I want you to feel safe. And in the mansion, you'll never feel safe with my mother there." "Where will your mother live?" "She can stay in the mansion as long as she wants, but we're starting our life over here." Emily was waiting for them at the door of the new house with a radiant smile. She had prepared the master bedroom with flowers and made everything cozy for Jennifer's arrival. "Welcome to your new home, Jennifer. Thank you, Emily, for everything." The first 3 weeks at home were an adjustment. Jennifer still had moments of confusion, especially when she woke up. Sometimes she forgot where she was and panicked. But each day, her memory and personality grew stronger. Emily moved into the guest room and became not just the nurse, but the friend and confidant Jennifer needed. They spent hours talking about the lost 5 years, the social projects Jennifer wanted to restart, and their plans for the future. Michael realized his wife had become even more determined during her time at the clinic. The injustice she suffered had awakened a thirst for justice that hadn't been there before. "I want to sue that clinic," she said one Sunday morning. "Jennifer, you don't need to put yourself through that." "Yes, I do. How many other people are being held there against their will? How many other families are suffering like we did?" The lawyer said it would be a very draining process. I don't care that Dr. Thompson and his team need to be punished. Dr. William Parker agreed to represent Jennifer in the lawsuit against the clinic. The investigation revealed at least 12 other patients were being held against their will, with forged or irregular paperwork. The case gained media attention. Jennifer gave courageous interviews, sharing her story and exposing the clinic's abuses. Her bravery inspired other families to seek justice. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. 3 months after Jennifer left the clinic, Michael made a decision that surprised everyone. He called a meeting with the top executives of Anderson Enterprises. Gentlemen, I've decided to completely restructure our organization. The executives exchanged uneasy glances. Starting today, half of the company's annual profits will go to social projects. We'll create a foundation to be managed by my wife, Jennifer. Mr. Anderson, the CFO said, this will make the company far less competitive. Then we'll have to be more efficient. We'll cut unnecessary expenses and focus on what truly matters. What if the shareholders disagree? I'm the majority shareholder. The decision is mine. Jennifer was moved when Michael told her about the foundation. Are you sure it's a huge responsibility? I'm absolutely certain. It's what my father wanted, and it's what you've always wanted to do. It'll be hard to earn the community's trust after everything your family has done. That's exactly why we'll start small. We'll prove we've changed through our actions. The Richard Anderson Foundation was officially created 4 months later. Jennifer took over as president, and Emily was hired as health coordinator for the projects. The first project was a free medical care center on the outskirts of New York City. Jennifer made sure to be there every day, personally overseeing every detail. I don't want this to just be a facade to ease our conscience, she'd say. I want it to truly transform lives. The medical center served over 1,000 people in the first 3 months. Emily coordinated a team of 15 healthcare professionals, offering everything from basic checkups to minor surgeries. The response was so positive that other companies began approaching the foundation for partnerships. Jennifer was meticulous in choosing partners, investigating each company's reputation and values before accepting any collaboration. Meanwhile, Margaret lived isolated in the Beverly Hills mansion. She had dismissed nearly all the staff and spent her days alone, bitter and resentful. She refused visits from Michael and never sought Jennifer out to apologize. One afternoon, Michael decided to visit her. He found his mother in the garden, sitting in a wheelchair. "Mom, how are you? How do you think I am? They've destroyed my life." "Mom, you destroyed your own life, and you nearly destroyed mine too. I protected this family for decades, and this is how you repay me. By protecting us through tax fraud and committing my wife against her will?" Margaret turned her face away, refusing to look at her son. "You don't understand anything, Michael. That woman poisoned your mind." Jennifer opened my eyes to the truth. "Truth? The truth is, you threw away everything your father built." "No, Mom. We saved what my father truly wanted to build. An honest company and a united family." A united family. Margaret laughed bitterly. "Where is this united family?" "The family is Jennifer, Emily, and me. You can always be part of it if you change your ways." "I'll never accept this situation. Never." Michael sighed, realizing his mother had chosen to live in the past and in bitterness. "The door will always be open, Mom. When you're ready to apologize to Jennifer and start over, we'll be here." 6 months after the foundation was created, Jennifer received an unexpected call. It was from an investigative journalist researching unregulated clinics in the state of New York. "Mrs. Jennifer, we discovered that Serenity Wellness Center kept at least 20 patients under illegal conditions. Your case was crucial to our investigation." "What happened to Dr. Thompson?" "He was arrested along with 3 other staff members. The clinic was shut down and the patients were transferred to proper facilities." "And the legal process?" "The district attorney's office is offering compensation to all victims. Your case will set a precedent." Jennifer shared the news with Michael and Emily over dinner. "At least other families won't have to go through what we did," she said. "And the compensation?" Emily asked. "I'll donate it all to the foundation. It's the least I can do for the other victims." That night, Michael and Jennifer walked through the garden of their Upper East Side home. It was a clear night with a full moon. "Do you regret anything?" Jennifer asked. "That it took me so long to discover the truth, that I believed my mother's version without questioning. I don't regret anything, not even the 5 lost years. They weren't lost, they were a lesson. They taught me the value of freedom, truth, and real family. And now, what do you want for our future?" "I want to expand the foundation. I want to build orphanages, schools, rehabilitation centers. I want to use your family's fortune to repair the damage it caused." "And personally, what do you want for us?" Jennifer stopped walking and held Michael's hands. "I want us to renew our wedding vows. I want to celebrate our true love without lies, without secrets." "When?" "On the 1-year anniversary of my release from the wellness center." Michael smiled and kissed her gently. "Where do you want the ceremony?" "At the Foundation's medical center. I want the people we've helped to be our witnesses." The idea was perfect. They spent the next months planning a simple but meaningful ceremony. Emily would be the maid of honor, and the medical center's patients would be the special guests. Mrs. Johnson, a 70-year-old woman who had received free surgery at the foundation, was tasked with baking the cake. Mr. Williams, a carpenter treated at the center, built a special altar for the ceremony. Michael sold all the family's jewelry and used the money to buy simple rings made by a local artisan. 3 days before the ceremony, Margaret unexpectedly showed up at the Upper East Side home. She looked visibly thinner and frailer, leaning on a cane. "May I come in?" she asked hesitantly. Jennifer welcomed her cautiously into the living room. "How can I help you, Mrs. Margaret?" "I came to apologize." Silence stretched for long seconds. "I came to apologize for what I did to you, for the 5 years I stole from your life, for the pain I caused my son." Jennifer remained calm, waiting. "I don't expect forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it, but I wanted you to know how deeply I regret it." "Why now, Mrs. Margaret?" "Because I've spent these months alone, thinking, and I realized I destroyed everything that truly mattered while trying to protect things that had no value." "And what has value?" "Family, love, honesty. Things you always tried to teach me and I was too foolish to understand." Jennifer leaned forward. "Margaret, I forgive you. Not for your actions, but for myself. I don't want to carry anger in my heart." "Thank you. But forgiveness doesn't mean I'll forget, or that I'll trust you right away." "I understand. If you want to be part of this family again, you'll have to prove through actions that you've truly changed." Margaret nodded, tears streaming down her face. Can I attend the vow renewal ceremony?" Jennifer looked at Michael, who had just arrived from the office. "Mother?" he said, surprised. "She came to apologize," Jennifer explained. "It's true, son. I came to acknowledge my mistakes and ask for a chance to start over." Michael stepped closer. "Mother, you hurt the people I love most. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right." "How?" "I want to help with the foundation. I want to use my administrative experience to expand its projects." "You'd do that?" "It would be an honor." Jennifer and Michael exchanged glances. After everything they'd been through, maybe rebuilding the family was possible. "You can attend the ceremony," Jennifer said, "but as a guest, not an organizer." "Of course, thank you." On the day of the vow renewal, the Foundation's medical center was decorated with simple flowers and colorful ribbons. Over 200 people gathered to celebrate Michael and Jennifer's love. Emily shone as the maid of honor, wearing a blue dress Jennifer had picked just for her. Margaret stayed discreetly in the back, watching the ceremony with tears in her eyes. The local priest led the simple, heartfelt ceremony. When it was time for the vows, Michael spoke first. "Jennifer, 5 years ago, I thought I'd lost you forever. Today, I know our love is stronger than any hardship. I promise to protect you, honor you, and love you forever." "Michael," said Jennifer with a firm voice. "You taught me that true love fights for the truth, even when it's painful. I promise to stand by your side, building a better future for our family and our community." When they exchanged rings, the crowd applauded with emotion. Mrs. Johnson cried so much that she needed her husband's help to calm down. After the ceremony, there was a simple reception in the courtyard of the medical center. The orchestra was replaced by a local folk band, and instead of French champagne, they served soda and fresh juice. Michael invited Jennifer to dance, and this time, there were no judgmental looks. Only people who truly loved them, celebrating a love that had survived 5 years of separation and lies. "It's so different from our first reception," said Michael as they danced. "It's so much better," Jennifer replied, "because now we're surrounded by people who love us for who we are, not what we have." Emily danced with Mr. Williams, the carpenter. Mrs. Johnson danced with the volunteer doctor from the center, and by the end of the night, even Margaret agreed to dance one song with her son. "Thank you, Mum," said Michael. "For what?" "For coming, for apologizing, for giving us a chance to start over." "Thank you, son, for not giving up on me." 2 years later, the Richard Anderson Foundation had become a national model for social projects. It had medical centers in 5 cities, 3 schools, 2 orphanages, and a microcredit program that had already helped over 1,000 families. Jennifer had become one of the most respected figures in the non-profit sector. She received invitations to speak at universities and international organizations. Emily had specialized in social project management and now led a team of 50. She had married Dr. Robert, the neurologist who treated Jennifer, and they lived in a house next to Michael and Jennifer's. Margaret had moved into a smaller home near the main medical center. She volunteered in the foundation's administration and had become a loving grandmother to the children at the orphanage. Michael had transformed the family business into a model of corporate social responsibility. Anderson Enterprises paid all its taxes on time, offered the best salaries in the industry, and allocated 40% of its profits to the foundation. One Friday afternoon, Michael came home early and found Jennifer in the garden, watering the flowers. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing her forehead. "Wonderful. We opened the 3rd medical center, and demand is already higher than capacity. Will we need to expand?" "Yes. Emily is drafting a proposal for 2 more centers." "And how will we fund it?" Margaret suggested a donation campaign. She has some great fundraising ideas. Who would have thought my mother would become a charity fundraising expert? People can change, Michael, if they really want to. They sat on the garden bench watching the sunset. "Jennifer, are you happy?" "Completely happy. And you?" "Happier than I ever imagined possible. Even after losing most of the family fortune. Especially because of that, I've learned that real wealth isn't in the bank, it's here," he pointed to his heart, "and here." He pointed to the house, where Emily hummed while preparing dinner. "What do you want for the next 5 years?" "I want to keep expanding the foundation. I want it to reach every part of the country. And personally," he hesitated. "What?" "I want us to have children. I want them to grow up in a better world than the one we found." Jennifer smiled and held his hand. "I've thought about that too, and I think it's time." "Really? Really, I want our children to see what a real family looks like. A family that fights for justice, helps those in need, and values love above all else." That evening, they had dinner with Emily and Robert, who had become part of the family. Margaret was also there, bringing desserts made by Mrs. Johnson. "I have some news for you all," Emily said during dinner. "What news?" asked Jennifer. "Robert and I are expecting a baby." The table erupted in celebration. Margaret cried with joy, imagining herself as a grandmother. Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances, knowing they would soon share similar news. "And there's more," Emily continued. "We'd like you two to be the godparents." "It would be an honor," Jennifer said, moved. After dinner, while washing dishes together, Emily asked Jennifer, "Do you regret anything?" "What do you mean?" "The 5 years at the clinic. The pain you went through, everything you lost." Jennifer stopped washing the plates and looked out the kitchen window. She could see Michael in the garden, playing with the neighborhood children. "You know what, Emily? I think everything happened the way it was supposed to." "How so?" If I hadn't gone through that, maybe we never would have uncovered the family's crimes. Maybe Michael would never have found the courage to change. Maybe I never would have developed this passion for social projects. And you never would have met me. Exactly. And you became the sister I never had. Now our children will grow up together like cousins. Like siblings, Jennifer corrected. Because family isn't just blood. It's choice, it's love, it's loyalty. That night, Michael and Jennifer took their usual Friday evening walk through the neighborhood. They greeted neighbors and stopped to chat with Mrs. Johnson, who was standing at her doorstep. "How's your grandson doing?" Jennifer asked. "Growing strong thanks to your medical center. The doctor said the surgery was perfect." "That's wonderful to hear. And when will you two give us the joy of seeing little ones running around?" Michael and Jennifer laughed. "Soon, Mrs. Johnson. Soon." When they returned home, they found Margaret in the living room, sorting through old family photos. "What are you doing, Mum?" "Putting away the bad photos and setting aside the good ones for a new album." "Bad photos?" "The ones that remind us of the times when we were rich in money but poor in love." Jennifer walked over and helped Margaret organize the pictures. "This one is beautiful," Jennifer said, showing a photo of Michael as a child, smiling in his father's arms. "Richard always said Michael would be a better man than him," Margaret remarked. "He was right." "Your husband was a good man, Margaret. He just lost his way." "Like I did. But you brought me back." "We brought each other back." 3 months later, on a spring morning, Jennifer woke up feeling nauseous. She took a pregnancy test in secret, and when it confirmed her suspicion, she decided to share the news in a special way. That night, during family dinner, she asked for everyone's attention. "I have an announcement to make." "What announcement?" Michael asked. "The Foundation's next project will be very special." "Why?" "Because it'll be our first long-term project. It'll take 9 months to complete, and then we'll spend at least 18 years nurturing it." It took Michael a few seconds to understand. When he did, his eyes filled with tears. "Jennifer, are you—" "I'm pregnant, my love." The table exploded in celebration once again. Margaret cried so much that Emily had to fetch her a glass of water. Robert congratulated Michael with pats on the back. "The cousins will be born almost together," Emily said, emotional. "What a blessing," Margaret whispered. "What a wonderful blessing." That night, after everyone had left, Michael and Jennifer stood alone in the garden. "Are you happy?" she asked. "There aren't words to describe what I'm feeling." "And you're not worried, with all that responsibility?" "No, because I know our son will grow up surrounded by true love. He'll learn from an early age the values that truly matter." "What values?" "Honesty, generosity, the courage to fight for what's right. And humility? Especially humility. He'll understand that true wealth lies in helping others." 6 months later, William Michael Anderson Wilson was born. Jennifer insisted on including the Wilson's surname in honor of Emily, who had become like a sister to her. The baby was christened at the Foundation's medical center, with Emily and Robert as godparents. The entire community joined the celebration, which lasted until dawn. Margaret proved to be a devoted and loving grandmother. She started sleeping at her son's house 3 times a week to help with the baby. Singing lullabies became her favorite activity. 2 months later, Emily gave birth to a girl, Emma Jennifer. The children grew up together like real siblings. The Richard Anderson Foundation continued to grow. By its 5th year, it was serving 20 cities and had become a model for other organizations across the country. Jennifer wrote a book telling her story, with all royalties donated entirely to the foundation. The book became a bestseller and inspired others to fight against injustice. Michael converted the old Beverly Hills mansion into the foundation's headquarters. The luxurious halls became classrooms, offices, and dining areas for staff and volunteers. The room where Jennifer had suffered was turned into a children's library. The kids, supported by the foundation's programs, came there every week to hear stories read by Jennifer herself. One afternoon, as she read to a group of children, Jennifer was interrupted by a 7-year-old girl. "Aunt Jennifer, is it true you were once arrested?" "Not arrested, sweetheart. I was kept in a place I didn't want to be, far from the people I loved. And how did you get out? With the help of brave people who never gave up on me, like Aunt Emily. And what did you learn? Jennifer smiled, looking out the window where she could see Michael playing with William in the garden. I learned that sometimes the bad things that happen to us teach us something important. What? That true love always finds a way to win. The end. So, what did you think of this story of resilience and true love? Tell us in the comments if you believe Jennifer made the right decisions and if Michael truly redeemed himself for his family's mistakes. Leave a like if the story moved you and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other amazing stories like this one. Your participation means a lot to us.